Alright. Alright. Microphone is on. Check. Everything on till Icicle Yeti. Check. PVE tier list. Check. The crying ad. Check. Top tier and bottom tier. Check. My guy's just starting a video like that. PVE tier list. PVE tier list. I know you guys know it damn well, and I am here to make probably the longest video on my channel that I will ever make. Probably the longest one. But this is a PVE tier list on PVE, Story Mode, Dark Mode, and Master Mode. And I'm going to be fully explaining how each cookie works. And how, cookies do in this update. Now, this is all my opinion. You can always just disagree with it and all of that. You can always do that. From my experience, instead of have tried cookies way too much, PvE. This is why I'm gonna rank them. And also, rules. Cookies with magic candies. The camp is gonna be level 10. I'm not gonna be ranking cookies on level 30 magic candies because quite really that's just way too overpowered. And also legendaries, I'm gonna be ranking them on probably level 1. Or level 10. Level 10 crystal gems. Let's be generous here. And also, if we put two cookies in the exact same tier, it does not mean that one is better than the other. If I put Alchemist here, it does not mean she's better than Adventurer and vice versa. So yeah, that's basically most of the rules. Worse than Tofu Boy tier means that they're garbage everywhere, does not deserve to be used. A D tier is that means they're garbage, but they at least just have some, a minimal amount of uses. C tier is the exact same thing, means that they're usable, but could be fine. B, that means they're pretty decent. A means that they do their job pretty well. And S tier, that means just the best of the best. And Doc Noob is that Doc Noob. Wish Hydro Joe was in the game. Now, I'm only going to be ranking epics and above. I'm not going to be ranking BTS because that, nobody has them. Not going to be ranking commons and rares because nobody's going to be using them anyway. And I'm not going to be ranking Sonic and Tails because, nobody's going to be using them. But even then, they would be worse than Tofu Boy. Already 3 minutes in, just full of talking. Let's just start with the first one, which is Almond. Already starting with a bad one. Almond is not really that bad. Let's just be real. Almond is not that bad. It's just his role has become so insignificant now. It doesn't do a whole lot. With the right cookies, he's fine. But majority of the time, you're always just gonna be going with an AoE cookie. A cookie that deals splash damage, like Tartatan or Mango or anything really. And Almond really just doesn't do a whole lot. He's not used on bosses since bosses are immune to his chain. And this is one main problem. His chain is he entirely relies on a debuff, which is chain. And it's not really a good debuff because we already just deal enough damage. Cookies already deal enough damage and it surpasses his chain. It just becomes so useless. Now again, on the right situations, he can be good, such as Raimond. Ugh, good meta. Good team. Fun times. He actually was used back in the day, when we didn't have any AoE options, but Almond now just really does not do enough. Now he's not worse than Tofu Boy, although you could just put him there, but I'm gonna be putting him in D tier since he does have some uses. He's fine. He is fine. Also, you don't really need to level up his skill since maybe I don't know. I don't know. But he's going in D tier. With the right cookies, he works, and majority of the time, he just doesn't. Chili, on the other hand, does not do anything. Now, again, you could make this argument that, she's the first cookie in the entire game. She's the first epic you get, so by all logic, she's supposed to be bad, which, really, I don't like that logic. Since there are so many other games that have a first character, and they're already really good. Anyways, Chili just does not do enough. Be real. Her boss damage just sucks. She gets completely outclassed by Black Raisin in everything. She targets the backline, which is like, congratulations, like, you just hit the backline. The damage sucks. They buffed her so that, like, the last hit of her skill deals crits, which, congratulations, with her already low damage scaling, it doesn't do anything. And also, the fact that her ability hitbox is just so small, like, let's just say, there are 3 enemies at the back, all, like, 2 of them are in the front and 1 of them, like, slightly to the back. Chili is just gonna hit that 1 enemy to the back. Just bad. Now again, on bosses, well, she's technically better, but, like, doesn't really compensate her being in D, since there are so many other cookies that do the same thing and are significantly better. Please never use chili pepper at all. We haven't missed anyone, right? Yeah. Oh, Grandpa! And she's just gonna go in S tier. Just truly one of the best, probably the best support in the entire game. Not in the entire game, like in PVE, that is. Most likely the best. She's just good on everything. It's never a bad idea to use her, and it's never a bad idea to use her in situations that are not favorable to her. Now, of course, she's not excellent on every single scenario, such as like 16-16. No, not 16-16. I mean, what am I talking about? 18-20. Which it's more preferred to run 2 AoE. Yeah, not AoE. Fuck. I'm already slacking. Bear with me. This is an hour-long video. 2 healing over time cookies. And another problem with Cream Puff. It's not worth using her alone. It's always worth it to just use her with a second healer, such as like Parfait or Snapdragon. But even then, it's always worth bringing her. It's never a bad idea using her alone, since there are some strategies that use Cream Puff alone. And other than that, her healing is fine. The successful spell gimmick is not really that bad. It really is not that bad, since crit problems are generally easily to overcome by, because you're going to be running 50% on Cream Puff anyway, so with her like default crit, she's already going to have like, 60+% crit. With Mansion, it's going to be 70%, and with Whistle that you're likely going to always run, or Scythe, it's already going to be at 100%. And if you do not get an unsuccessful spell, first of all, you're screwed. And it's not really that bad. And also another thing, her crit buffs. She did not even need the crit buffs. Crit and crit damage. Probably the 2 best buffs combined in PvE. She did not even need that. Even if she did not have that, she would still go in A. But for now, she's so good. In every single team she's good. It's never a bad idea to run her, even in comps that do not favor her. And yeah, just overall an amazing healer. Especially with her like Magic Candy level 10 that gives you that crit damage. It's never worth it to run Cream Puff below level 10 Candy, because no crit buffs, but yeah, but we're ranking this based on level 10 candies, and with that, just Cream Puff going in S tier. Just absolutely amazing. Dark Choco, on the other hand, is not good. He just gets power crept by Milky Way and Space Donut in every way. It's amazing. Dark Choco is just bad. Like, his damage slacks. His debuff also slacks. Sure, he's used on 1230, but even then, like, Milky Way just does such a better job. Because not only does she protect your team, she also gives significantly more defense down to that one enemy. Against debuff immune enemies, he's just gonna do nothing. And overall, against normal stages, you're never gonna run him anyway, because there are significantly better options. And you do not want a front that not only easily dies, but doesn't really tank well either. Not really a whole lot to say about Dark Choco, and also the fact that his skill gets interrupted, which is a huge liability. Pretty crazy how this game now has just become abilities cannot get interrupted. Yeah, Dark Choco is just bad, so sad. And even before 1230 nerf, he would still go like in C tier just because of 1230. But the fact that he got nerfed like 30 million times, it's just... he's bad. Black Raisin! Black Raisin. Yes, she's going in A tier. It's just such a well-rounded, versatile cookie. She's incredible at boss damage. And she's fine on normal stages too, as long as you know how to use her. There are some strategies that use her. I've tried them and insanely fun to use. Basically, one of the main strategies was use Black Pearl and either Latte or Espresso, and to just pull all the enemies together, and then Black Raisin to just demolish them. It is such a fun strat. And even without that, on normal stages he kind of slacks since she has the exact same problem with Chili Pepper, but she has significantly more damage, and on bosses, especially on bosses, which are like one of the biggest parts in this game, she really does amazing against them. She deals so much damage. And also, the defense down. She did not even need that. Against grouped enemies. She did not even need that. Just amazing, incredible. That's it. Her level 10 Candy, just giving her that defense down too. It's... get the A tier. Espresso, on the other hand, is not bad. I feel like people really just underrate Espresso just because he's like power cracked by literally everything. But other than that, he's not bad. He's still going in B tier though. This is the thing with him. He just deals very good damage. The stun is nice to have. And the injury, whilst being very insignificant, it still isn't bad. It still isn't bad to have on someone like Espresso. He is pretty good. On bosses, he kind of slacks since, well, he's magic, and generally most, if not all, magic cookies just really slack on boss damage. But other than that, if you don't have a multi hitter and you don't have a really good DPS, then Espresso is fine. He does the job for you. And if you don't have any other option, he's fine. He's going in B tier. He's not too strong. He's not A tier worthy, but he's not C tier worthy. He's definitely a lot better than what I'm gonna put in the C tier. Fig is not one of them that I put in the C tier. Just poor Fig. Fig. This is the problem with Fig. They're not terrible. I would argue they're definitely better than these two. But the problem with them is how low their damage is. It's just, they deal such terrible damage, it's just never worth bringing them. The debuff is nice. The 25% attack down is very great to have. Well, it's not really the best. On bosses, well, is that really a question? What to do if you bring them to bosses? Well, they just don't do anything. They don't support the team in any way. They're mainly just a debuffer. Which even then, we have better options. They get completely power cracked by Black Pearl in everything. Not only does Black Pearl have a better debuff, but she also has attack speed down, which is... we'll get to that later. But overall, Fig is just bad. Yeah, it's poor Fig. I really wish they were better, though. Such a fun cookie to use. We'll get to you later. Or let's get to him now. Who made this cookie? Who made him? Who? Who tried to balance him out? And who made him? Oh my god. Never give him a magic candy, like, ever. He's so bad. He is probably just one of the worst healers in PVE. Straight up. The cleanse does nothing. The main healing does nothing. The main healing from him is the sprouts that, yeah, congratulations, you're just gonna be moving almost 95% of the time. You're gonna be moving constantly. So the sprouts do nothing. His main healing does nothing. He can't even heal mid-waves. Like, when you're walking from wave to wave, he can't even cast his ability. And even if you could, the sprouts would do nothing. He is such a trash healer. The cleanse does nothing. The cleanse is now worth bringing this useless piece of junk onto the team. Especially since you have, like, Parfait, cleanses herself, and the cookie with the highest attack. So that's more than enough. And you have, like, Purple Yam with, like, 70-80% debuff immunity, so that's just great. He is so useless. And also, you can't even cleanse all the debuffs. Injury, you're still gonna have a problem with it. So why would you bring such a failure to the team? I can't stand it! He's so overrated too! Oh yeah, the cleanse! Wow, the cleanse! He's gonna do so much! On a level that has 0 debuffs, he's worthless. He's on a level that doesn't even have a lot of debuffs, he's also worthless. And on a level with tons of debuffs, well, he just does nothing since you have Parfait anyway, who heals better, debuffs better, and gives you debuff resist and defense up. Better and better. He's so trash! Remove him from the game already! Never buff him, never give him a magic candy. He shall just burn to hell! And that's why he's going worse than Tofu Boy. He's just so trash! Die in hell! Oh my god! He was never a fun cookie to play with, and he will never be a fun cookie to play with. Ah, oh, dearest me, I already need some water. It's 15 minutes in. Ugh. You know what? I'm making an entire tier just for him. Hold on. No, wait. Wait. I got so... Wait. Yeah, there we go. I'm making an entire tier below. Oh my moonlight. God damn. I got so angry! Yeah, this one. Make a row below. There. Just piece of tree. Die. There we go. Oh, I hate you. Ugh. Just color it black so that we can never see his face again. Moving on to Hollyberry. And honestly, she's kind of overrated. She is very much overrated. She's not a great tank. Oh, sure, she has like a high HP and all of that, but even then, you have like stuff like Fetishing that, first of all, debuff defense better, and you have Burnt Cheese who arguably has a better defensive buff than her. Hollyberry just does not do a whole lot. Her defensive buffs really lack, and no, it's not bad. It's not the worst thing in the world. It does help. But in most situations, you're like never gonna be using her like ever. Never. Ever. And another problem, the fact that her ability just lets her completely just charge to the front, which makes almost all enemies just target her, which is never really a good idea anyway. Letting your tank just go to the front even more is not really a great idea. And also, the fact that she charges to the front means you gotta run another tank to compensate such, but even then, you're basically asking for the enemies to just screw you over. If you do not have, like, I don't know, any way to slow them down while also dealing a lot of damage, going with double tank is generally not a great idea unless your DPS or your healer does more than enough. Now, she is useful. She is useful. Unlike 1730, 1630, bosses that really just do, or enemies rather, that do a lot of damage AoE, Hollyberry is not bad to have. She's not really that bad to have. Anyway, she's going in C tier. I'm still dying over that her brains. Are there any more colors? Yeah, just die. The color of black and white. And yeah, another problem, her toppings. If you're running full cooldown, well, she just dies instantly. And if you're running full damage resist, well, you're not going to be defending your team a lot. And also, the fact that you're basically just going to have to time Hollyberry, which is not really the greatest thing. Next up is Kumiho. Kumiho is just bad. Kumiho is just... Again, it's just bad. I could just put her in D, though. I really could. Is she gonna be better than all the... Nah, not really. She's going in worse than Tofu Bully. The problem with Kumiho is that she's one too fragile. You're gonna be using another tank with her, which is never really a good idea unless your second front is either it just deals so much damage. Kumiho does not do that. The charm is nice to have, but at the end of the day, it's just another stun, which is not really the greatest thing. And you also have the defense down with her ability, but even then, those two combined are really meaningless as you have Space Donuts, who does her job better. She also doesn't dodge. It's really hard to dodge with her because you're gonna need to use her solo front, which is not really a good idea. And you also need robes to use her, and who's your other member gonna be, like Tarts? Yeah, no, not a great idea. And yeah. On her fox form, she's fragile. On her cookie form, she's even more fragile. She's going in worse than Tofu Boy. Latte! Latte is underrated. Actually underrated. I don't see a lot of people just talk about Latte. She's actually gonna go B tier with espresso. Not sure she deals less damage, but she definitely has the utility that she needs, especially on like later worlds where it's basically like a melee enemy spam. Latte just makes sure that these melee enemies are in check. Because not only does she pull them, she also stops them from moving for like 5 6 seconds, which is huge. It's really huge. You can just go like a no tank comp. She synergizes very well with prune juice and also mozzarella because mozzarella sends them to the back, and latte kind of just makes sure that like the melee enemies never go to you. Now it's only viable with no tanks unless you have prune juice, which prune juice should be your only tank. And yeah, that's it. There are on bosses she really slacks. And against like hit shields, she's not really the best, but not the worst. Not the worst, but not the best. Her level 10 Candy doesn't really do a whole lot. Well, she does synergize Pro Juice, which is basically her only synergy. But even then, on a general team, she's not bad. She's not the worst to go for. She gives you like enough time. And also, fun fact about the synergy between Latte and Prune Juice is that Goopy, yes, I called him Goopy, the Prune Juice's minion, actually can attack the enemies that are silenced or not moved at all. But the enemies cannot attack him, which is really nice. It's actually very nice to have. But anyway, she's going in B tier. Really just a lot of fun to have. She's not terrible, but she's not great either. Not the greatest. Licorice, on the other hand, he's fine. He's going in C tier. He's fine. At level 10, can't. Well, it's pretty useless because all it does is give himself a shield. But he's not bad. He does have the defense that you need. His damage kind of sucks. His minions are tanky as hell. Just to be honest. He also spawns 3. They also fixed another problem with him. Was that back then your minion's like limit was only 3. Now they made it infinite. So he does synergize very well with robes. He does synergize pretty well with prune juice, because his minions kind of just eat up that damage. But even then, his minions are not worth like saving over, since they deal like at best 100 damage. Not even kidding. They deal such low damage. But even then, crowd control is nice. He's not really the best. Actually, you know what? I'm putting him in D tier. Yeah, now that I'm just thinking about, I'm having Vietnam flashbacks from that, from trying him against on summoners. He's just not really the greatest since he just scatters the enemies, which, by the way, is not a good idea. Him just scattering the enemies just makes it so much worse, because all it does is make the enemies easier to just sneak past your summons and just potentially go to your cookies, which is a bad idea. Against bosses, he's bad. Against debuff immune bosses, he's worse. And against hit shields, well, he's not bad. He's not the best, but he has some uses. He has some uses, okay? he's going D tier. Lilac, he's going piece of trash garbage. And same problem with Kumiho. But the guess, not in D tier. I was like maybe D tier because of his buff, but even then, insignificant buff. And you need robes for him to be good, which even then, like, you need like Madeline and either Kuanaman or Tards, but even then, that's like 3 out of 5 of your party just being attack speed, which is bad. It's bad, and it's never worth it to run more than one attack speed cookie on the team, since most attack speed cookies are terrible. Yeah, he's just awful. Damage mid, bad against bosses, bad against hit shields, and with robes he's not really that great. The buff is nice, but yeah, nah. nay. Melisauce! A cookie that is actually just slept on. Heavily slept on, rather. She's actually not bad. I'm actually gonna put her in B tier. She is not the worst, actually. This is the thing. The only reason I'm putting her there is because one, her ability has stun, which is huge for PVE, since stun is basically one of the best things you can get. She's also front, which is nice. Her toppings generally do not matter. It's always gonna be damage resist because attack is gonna do nothing, and cooldown just makes it's not really necessary since the crit buff lasts for a while. She gives 30% crit buff to the entire team, which is pretty good for a front. And also the burning, which is nice. It works against hit shields. Just her main weakness is boss damage, but even then, it's like the exact same problem as these two. And yeah, there's really just a fun to have. I've also tried a Master Mode 5 comp with her. And it actually turned out pretty well. I haven't tested that on main story mode, either story mode or dark mode. But if it works on Master Mode, I can bet it's gonna work on like World 17 or World 18 rather. It was basically just like a stunlock comp with Malison, Space Donut, and Brute, where you would just alter between the abilities. And Malisos is basically one of the MVPs in that comp, since she was, first of all, a sub DPS, and a very nice crit buffer. Just going into a solid B tier. Very underrated front. Very underrated. I've not missed anyone, right? Yeah, no. Now we're going on to the best cookies in PvE. Mango's just good. Mango's really good. His level 10 candy is nice. The big waves is what is really the difference you want from Mango. He is such a good damage dealer. Not only does he sweep the enemies away, he's also not terrible for bosses either. Like, he's not the best, but even then, he's not that bad. His damage is amazing against regular enemies. He almost just sweeps every single enemy stage ever, as long as it doesn't have, like, a big guy. But even then, you're gonna have a single target with your team. Like, one of the teams that you could say it's like I don't know, a front, 2 DPS, one of them being Mango, and 2 supports, one of them being Cream Puff, of course. He synergizes very well with Cream Puff. He didn't even need the attack boost, rather. He gives 15% attack boost to the entire team, which is really just something unnecessary, and he did not even need it. And even without it, he would still be an S tier. Just amazing. And also the big waves that really make him shine. Because not only do they deal significantly more damage, but also they give defense down and also airborne, which is not the best debuff, not the best thing to have, but it's still helpful to stall the enemies by like half a second. But there's one problem with Mango though. It's RNG. But even then, in PvE, the RNG doesn't screw you over. It doesn't like if you get 3 small waves, it's not the end of the world. But even if you get like 3 big waves, that's like the dream. He's pretty much an S tier. He works in almost every single comp, even in summoners. Just overall an amazing one. His main weakness could be boss damage, but even then, he's not terrible. He's not terrible at bosses. Next up, we have Milk. Milk, another one that is slept on, but even then, he's not really excellent. He gets outclassed by Fettushin in every single way. But here's the thing: the reason why I'm putting him in C tier, he's not a bad front. He has so much health, and he heals he heals a lot. But like in case he takes a lot of damage, although insignificant, he deals quite a ton. And the fact that he has taunts really just synergizes with his kit so well. You would rather put him on two fronts, but even then, like the other front could be like Donuts, who really complements Milk a lot, or Brute, which really does do a lot against like melee enemies, or even like any stage rather. I guess bosses he absolutely sucks though. Just saying. I guess bosses he absolutely sucks, and he's not really the best in terms of like protecting your entire team, since he only protects himself. So he doesn't save you against like majority of the things in this game. He's still going in C tier though, heavily slept on. Well, he gotta like catch some air right now. Already been half an hour and I've ugh. Okay, if you're seriously watching this video, I swear to God, you're on something, my guy. I still love you though. Anyways, going on to Min Choco. He's not really the best. He's not really the greatest, but he's still going in C tier. He's fine. He is a fine support. He only gives attack speed, which is low, but he got buffed like twice. Which are kind of insignificant, but he did give himself like, I don't know, 15% attack buff, which is, fine. Again, not much to talk about him. Although his main weakness is the fact that, like, the fact that his healing is low, and the fact that he gives attack speed, which is really situational. But even then, he's fine. He is fine to have. He's definitely better than... Is he better than Course though? Not really. They both have like their very situational uses. Fine, I'll put him in D. It would be like either C or D because of the fact that he heals low and his attack speed is 25%. It's not really that great, especially since you have like attack, heal is a do attack. Yeah, fine, I'll put him in. What would I put in D though? He would be better than some of the options I've put in. Fine, I'll put him in C. I'll put him in C. Probably next tier list I'll change my mind about it. I'll still test him. I've tested him on like Master Mode 5 and he did fine. He on some cookies he works. He works very well. But overall he's just not that great. He's still going in C tier though. And this is one of the options that I'll put in D. Moonrabbit just... I'm sorry. Moonrabbit just doesn't do a whole lot. Again, the really just the reason is her ability just being so scuffed. Because here's the thing, how she works, because I know a lot of people just don't even know how she works. She gives Rice Cake Mark to some of the targets, and if you kill those targets, you get healed. But even then, like, you're never gonna use Moonrabbit for healing anyway. And on bosses, it's absolutely worthless. She doesn't deal that much damage, she doesn't tank that much either. Ability can get interrupted, and just really the gimmick is underwhelming at best, since you need to kill the enemy, which is... At later world, it's not easy to kill enemies. Now, again, her most preferable strat could be like a one-shot thing. But even then, that's just not a great comp. And even then, you're not going to use Moonrabbit for that one either. That's why she's going in D. Not really that excellent. What are we missing? Oh yeah, by the way, Yubi's going... No, not in Die. Yeah. Yeah. Carrot is going in. Carrot is going up there. Alright? Yeah. Ugh. Anyways. Parfait! Probably one of the best healers in the game. One of the best healers in PvE, that is. This is one of the things with Parfait is that she is essentially just the debuff resist destroyer. She essentially just dominates debuff stages. Because not only does she have, first of all, 50% debuff resist, which is basically just means all debuffs that are just going into your face are going to be cut to half. And some stages, I don't even know if they're doable without her. Especially on like World 17, even like World 15 and above, Parfait just massacres those debuffs. Because those later worlds just have so many enemies that debuff you. And Parfait just kind of does the job. Level 10 Candy is amazing. It essentially just makes her a pure vanilla that heals, that has healing over time, gives a defense buff, gives 50% debuff resist, and cleanses herself and the cookie with the highest attack. One of the main underrated things, cleansing herself, because sure, it's not that great. It's not that great. But in World 18, there are some enemies that really punish you. Punish you with, like, corruption. And Parfait just does the job. Parfait can save herself. So, against, like, silence, she's not gonna get affected. And the cookie with the highest attack is not gonna get affected either, since that cookie is generally just your main damage dealer. Overall, just an amazing healer. Very cute. Costume slays, which gives her some points. Real. Just an incredible healer. Pastry, same problems. Same exact problem. Doesn't even have light type damage to save her ass. Just the same problem with... I'm not going to talk a lot about Pastry, since she's essentially Lilac without the attack speed buff. She deals way too low damage, and just doesn't do a whole lot. There's nothing really to talk about her, since I've already said this about Lilac. Next up, Poison Mushroom. Poison Mushroom is fine. He's actually going in C tier. He's not quite D tier worthy, since his damage is quite slept on. He's pretty fine. Against bosses he sucks, quite frankly. And he's more preferred against, like, targets with higher hitboxes, such as, like, Pitaya Dragon 1230, which was why Poison Mushroom was so good there. But even then, there are better single target options. He's fine. He's fine. The poison damage is fine. His group damage is fine. He's not the worst, but it's not the best. Overall, he's just a great guy. He's a fun guy. Kill me. Overall, just going in C tier. He's fine. As an option, he's very great. Against hit shields, he's not really the worst, since poison damage. But yeah, A tier worthy. Pomegranates. Pomegranate's going in B tier. Pomegranate, unironically, an underrated healer. She is so good as a secondary healer. You're not gonna use her as like main healer, since she is kind of underwhelming. But as secondary, she does amazing. I mean, 30% attack buff is not something you want to scoff at. 30% attack buff is essentially just 2 mangoes, but also heals. Works so well with Cream Puff because Pomegranate gives 30% attack boost, and Cream Puff gives like 30% crit buff, which is the trifecta of buffs. Now, of course, she's not the greatest. She does get outclassed by some other healers that I'm just gonna get later on. But honestly, she's quite fun, even without a magic candy. Her healing is above average for a healer. She's above average, and yeah, overall, she's just great. Just a great healer. Not much to talk about. Pure Vanilla! Pure Vanilla, he's going in A tier. No, not in die. He's fine. As a main healer, he does his job well. He's definitely the best option to pick out of the 3 in, like, Might of Ancients. It's like, if you're a new player and you want, like, pick the options between Pure Vanilla, Holy Bear, or Dark Cacao, Pure Vanilla is the best option by a landslide. His healing is good. His main ability, the shield is fine. The Amplify buff, well, doesn't really do a whole lot. But it also, one of his main factors, he removes injury. Well, not remove it, but, like, he's the only one who can decrease injury while it is still active. Compared to, like, Parfait, who you need to have that debuff resist preemptively before getting the curse. But even then, he's not as great as Parfait, but he does his job well. He works as secondary healer. I wouldn't really... He works as a main healer, but you need a second healer to really just complement him. OG combo being Pomegranate and Pure Vanilla. Woof. What a good time to be alive. He's fine. He's fine. He's not S-worthy, but if you want to build an easy healer, Pure Vanilla. Next up is gonna be Purple Yam. Purple Yam is not bad. He's actually going in C tier. The thing with him is that on bosses he's decent. But the main thing with him is that on some of the main levels, you don't want to use his ability. I'm not even kidding. Sometimes you just don't even want to use his ability because, one, his level 10 candy is nuts. Not only does he give him like 40% damage resist, so if you have like a full on damage resist build on him, you have a cookie with like 85% damage resist, which is the cap, by the way. So not only do you have a tank who is like very strong, he can get killed. He can get killed, but like he can't die easily. He works as a second tank. He works with like two tanks. And on single tank he dies easily. But on average, like Yam works well. Against bosses he's not a bad idea to go with, especially on like 1616 where you kind of just want some like hit shield chippers, and one of them is Yam. And also the fact that his level 10 candy gives him debuff resist, which is great, and also the fact that from time to time he just heals himself, which isn't like in arena where he heals himself after like a minute after a minute, yeah. He heals himself every like I don't know, like 30 seconds. He heals himself pretty frequently. Just pretty great. And one of his main strats is that you don't want to cast his ability. Just one of the main things why Yam is pretty good. Now he does get outclassed by Fettuccine, but other than that, he's a pretty great one. He's fine. He's fine. He does his job well. Raspberry, on the other hand, just doesn't. She's not going in worse than Tofu Boy. She is pretty fine. Pretty fine on her own. Against, like, single target, she's decent. She is fine. But the problem is that later worlds are going to be debuff immune, which really makes Raspberry significantly worse than she needs to be. The 40% attack nerf on the enemy she targets is harsh. It is really harsh. Against like 1230, she slays. Against anything, like let's just say a singular enemy that doesn't do one true damage and isn't debuff immune, Raspberry does fine against it. But even then, it's like extremely rare to find, even non-existent rather. She's fine. She's not a bad one. She is a girl boss though. But even then, another problem with her is that on main level she dies easily because if you use her ability and like the problematic enemies are on the back line, she's gonna target them and she's gonna be so exposed to everything in the middle. So she dies a lot. With damages she doesn't do damage, and with Raspberry she just annihilates herself. What a girl boss though. Definitely a lot better than the options we have here. She is fine. On to Red Velvet. Red Velvet is not that bad. Also, another slept-on tank. He has same use, well, not same uses, but in some levels, he legitimately hard carries. Especially on like Master Mode 5, where I've kind of discovered like a use for Red Velvet, where on Master Mode 5, there are a lot of sharpshooters that sit at the back, lone sharpshooters. Red Velvet just kind of snipes them and brings them to the front where all the damage is going to come from. Now again, he's good with summoners, first of all. He's good because the backline, you just pull them to the front where all the damage is happening. So if you bring like your Con, your Prune Juice, and your Snow Sugar, they're just going to annihilate whoever Red Velvet pulled. He works 12 damage resist because with the watch he's gonna have like 11-second cooldown, which is not the greatest, but it's still pretty good for a front like Red Velvet. He works pretty fine as a main front, although I would recommend putting him with two fronts. But even then, in some strategies he really does work. On bosses he kinda sucks though. He really does suck. But even then, in some situations he does work. He really does work. Oh my god, do I have a lot to go through. I'm gonna speed this up. But yeah, Red Velvet C tier. Rai, on the other hand, she's not worse than Tofuboy, don't worry. She's actually going in B tier. One of the highest damage dealers in the entire game. One of the highest. Like not like area of effect, but more like single target. She is really good at that. And also the attack speed buff. She did not even need such. The burn effect is nice because unlike 16-18, that burn effect is really gonna come to light, really gonna shine. And also the attack speed buff, which helps the entire team break down the shield faster. Unlike bosses, she's fine. She's not the greatest, but even then, unlike 1630 or 1730 rather, she does just do the job well. Now she is outclassed by some cookies that I'm gonna get later on, but all alone she's fine. I wouldn't really recommend her using her on like main levels though, since it kind of slacks. But and also her targeting can be a little unreliable since like let's just say the sharpshooters are like low, not like highest attack, or I cannot target them, which is iffy at best. But even then, she works. She works. On to Sea Fairy. Sea Fairy is honestly just gonna go to S tier. Our first legendary, and she's already going to S tier. Sea Fairy is just such a powerhouse of a unit. Like if you have like Seafair and A5, or even A3 rather, and Crystal Gem at 15, she is unstoppable. Literally unstoppable. But since we're going on like level 10 Crystal Gem, she's still really good. Still insanely good, even without Ascensions. She deals such high damage. She also synergizes with a lot of the cookies in like the water class, such as like Mango and Black Pearl, who are basically Water Comp is like one of the best teams in PVE. So just such high damage dealers, and it's just incredible. And even then, against bosses, she is not bad. Not the best, but not bad. Now again, you do need an insanely high level Sea Fairy, and with high promotions for it to really work. If we were on like a tier list where who would be better, yeah, Sea Fairy is still staying in S tier. Like I have 4-star Sea Fairy, like level 15 Crystal Gem, and she dominates with Mango. And even then, on her own, she's fine. On her own, she is pretty fine. Not the best, but not really the worst, if you know what I mean. She is pretty fucking good. Love her. She is such a waifu. And also, her topics can just be full attack and you're fine. And this is one thing about PvE that I love the most. In most stages, you don't even need damage resist on your cookies. Because most enemies are not even gonna hit you anyway. And also the stun, which is great. Her Crystal Gem is just incredible, sweeps away the entire field. Just incredible. I love Sea Fairy. Did we miss anyone? Sorry about 15 minutes and we already have so much to go through. Next up is Snow Sugar. Unironically, if he did not have a Crystal Gem, Magic Candy, I mean, he would be there. But with the Crystal, Magic Candy, I mean, he's going in A tier. He's not quite S tier, but he's pretty good. Against, like, main enemies, like main stages, he dominates these. Not only did they buff Snow King's lifespan, they also decrease his cooldown, which used to be like 20 seconds. Now it's 15. Which, first of all, makes Snow King live so much longer. And if you have like 8% attack on your raspberries, Snow King basically stays there forever. The attack speed down is great. The freeze is great. And the damage is fine. It's pretty fine. Not the best, but he's not bad. Now his main weakness is bosses and enemies that cannot get slowed down. But even then, he's not terrible. He is actually pretty good. His level 10 is not the best. Quite really. But even then, in some stages, he works. He really does work. He's going in A tier. Like, His main weakness is against his bosses, boss damage and single target. But against like grouped damage, he is amazing. Next up is Sonic was going up. Kidding. Sorbet. Sorbet is going in A tier. Now, more reliable than Black Raisin on regular stages, and he almost like has the exact same use as Black Raisin on bosses. He deals almost the exact same damage. He is pretty good, and the healing down is not really the best, but it is helpful in some stages, not a whole lot. It's like a single stage on Master Mode 1, but even then, you can have like Snow Sugar. But even then, Storm's main point is not the healing down, it's his damage, which is just great. He's one of the best single targets, one of the best, if not the best. And yeah, that's it. He's not really that terrible. He's definitely a lot more reliable than Black Raisin when it comes to main stages. But even then, Black Raisin deals more damage, but is unreliable. But even then, on main stages, she works on the right team. And Sorbet's kind of on the same ballpark. He's kind of on the same ballpark if you think about it. Both going in A tier. Next up is going to be Sparkling, or shall I say? No, I'm not going to say it. Hey, he's going in the same tier as Mints. He's fine. He is very fine. Underrated, rather. The crit buff is great. Just the one problem is that his ability kind of just takes years to prepare. But even then, focus healing is nice. Focus healing is not really the worst thing you can have. On early stages, he's fine. And on late stages, he's not really the best. But even then, on like Master Mode, he works. If you don't have any other healer and you have like Sparkling leveled for some reason, you can use him. You can definitely use him. He is pretty good. He's like on the same ballpark as Mint. Both don't do great with healing, but as a secondary healer, they can work. They can work. Next up is gonna be I wish I could just put them in die tier, but I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. They're going in B tier. Their damage is not bad. The main attack having defense down is pretty nice, especially against like grouped enemies, which is not the worst thing to have. It's not really the worst thing. Main weakness is boss damage, but even then, pretty good for like a cookie whose only use is on main stages. I guess hit shields they're fine at best, although not the best. But they do deal a significant amount of damage. Should I put them in A tier just for that? I don't know. I'm contemplating between A tier or B. I'd say for like AoE standards, they're great. For like single target, they're great. Utility, not so much though. I'd rather just shoot the bullet first and then... Yeah, I'm putting them in A tier. They're definitely a lot better than like Latte. Even though Latte is good, she does have certain uses. Squid, you can use them anywhere. They're not the worst. He's pretty fucking good. We didn't miss anyone, right? Yeah. Yubi, look, I put carrot in Doc Noob. Are you happy? I love you, Yubi. You're my favorite British person. Next up, Strawberry Crepe. Oh my. Ah. I really wish I could just put them higher though. Back in the day, they would just be S tier. S tier 100%. Now they're just there. This is the problem with Strawberry Crepe. Their ability is not bad. It's not a terrible ability. Actually, should I just put them in C just for that? Like, in terms of, like, tank standards, they're actually quite up there. Because here's the thing. 50% damage resist on the two lowest health cookies is harsh. It is harsh, especially against, like, enemies that just target your mid. Strawberry Crepe does an excellent job at that. They work so well. But even then, you have like Fettuccine. But even then, like if Fettuccine runs out on taunt duration, Strawberry Crepe can actually just save you on that. They're decent. They're decent. Definitely on the same plane as like Holly Bear and Milk, so that they have fine utility as a tank. Like Red Velvet's more of the offensive, and Crepe is more on like the defensive. The knockback is meh. The defense, the damage is bad, but even then on a tank, like what do you expect? We're just going in C tier, pretty good. But even then, like yeah, on some situations they're pretty useless. But even then, on some stages they can work. They really can work. Tiger Lily also in the same ballpark, also going into C tier. This now I might now some people it might come off as a shock like how is Tiger Lily in C tier? And let me explain. Let me explain. Tiger Lily is such an incredible stalling unit. Not only does she have 3 second start, which is just what you want, she also has instantaneous stun, which is on like World 17 and 18, downright incredible. On some stages, he absolutely dominates, and no other cookie can do the exact same thing as her. Not only does she sit at the back, but she also goes to the front with a meat shield that cannot be killed, and also stuns. Now, you might say, like, Werewolf does the exact same thing, but he's up front. And Tiger Lily's, one of her uses is being on a summoner comp, or even then, discovered kind of like a 4 DPS comp in World 17, which worked amazingly. It worked incredibly well. And the thing is that you might be like, oh yeah, but she's gonna be like a waste of my resources and all of that. But guess what? She doesn't even need to be leveled at all. She can be level 30, skill level 1, and toppings level 1, and you're fine. Just use full cooldown on her for that 3 seconds. She can be so underleveled and you're fine. You can just use her. She's not a risk to build, but she's also not a liability either. If you have the correct comp, she works. She really works. Yeah, just absolutely incredible. A lot of people really just sleep on what Tiger Lily can possibly do. I'm like the only one who discovered her real use. I was shocked the first time. Now again, it depends on the enemies. It depends on the enemies. If you have if the enemies are sharpshooters, well, Tiger Lily is useless. But even then, against like melee enemies and against like many other things, and even then against sharpshooters, could be bad. But even then, depends on the sharpshooter itself. Like if you're going against like viruses, yeah, well, she's just gonna die easily. But yeah, just absolute C tier. Very, very glad I found a use for her. Twesley, on the other hand, just doesn't have a use at all. She's going in D tier, but her saving grace is just a zap. Her damage sucks. She absolutely does not work with crit. Like, without crit, I mean. And yeah, just the multi-hit is just bad. Because you have so many other options that just do better multi-hit. Damage sucks. And her only saving grace is the zap, which is why she's going into D tier. Generally never worth bringing into the team. And also with like synergy with like, I don't know, Shining Glitter or Black Lemonade, just use them together and not Twizzly. Just absolutely awful units. Should I put her in F though, in worse than Tofu Boy because of that? Like against 16-18, you have so many other options that can deal with hit shields. And against like 16-10, or even like any shielded enemy, you can just use like Paper Charm or even like, I don't know, some options like you have Sherbets. Yeah, I'm just gonna put him worse than Tofu Boy. Absolutely terrible. Vampire. Vampire's just bad. I'm not sorry. Vampire's just bad. He's just going in D tier. His level 10 candy absolutely does nothing. It just makes him revive, which, congratulations, what are you gonna gain from this? And against single target, yeah, just Sword Ben and Black Raisin just do such a better job. The bleed is really not that great, which is basically 90% of his, no, like 70% of his damage comes from the bleed. And against debuff immune enemies, that doesn't even work. Now again, you could sound like, yeah, against the same target, he crits 100% of the time. But even then, let's like, You have like cream puff already increases your cred, and you're likely gonna be running whistle, which is yeah, you're likely just only gonna be running whistle. Yeah, he's going in D tier. Never worth building. And he's also so slow against like main enemies that you might be wondering like why did you put Red Velvet in C and Vampire in D? Because here's the thing, Red Velvet stuns the target for 5 seconds, which is something I forgot. Stunning a target for 5 seconds is harsh. 5 seconds is just more than enough for you to take them out. Vampire does not do that. Vampire does not stun the enemy or anything. You're still waiting for the enemy to die very slowly. And even then, you have like options like Manga who can't snipe the backline or Sea Fairy. Just not really great. He's definitely better than all the worse than Toolful Boy options. Next up is going to be Werewolf. Werewolf is not bad. He's not bad. No, he's not going there. He's actually not going in A tier, although very close. But he is going in B tier. The only reason I'm putting him in B tier and not A is because his boss damage is kinda slacks. And against enemies who are debuff immune, he is very bad. But other than that, his health is high. His health is one of the highest in the entire game. Aside from like Hollyberry. And his damage is good. He works well with robes. And his toppings, you can just go with crit because you're gonna use them as a secondary tank. The first one can be either Brute, very, very synergetical with Brute, or Fettuccine, also very synergetical because Fettuccine is gonna take all the damage and Werewolf is gonna, like, damage all the enemies while also stunning them. He is very great. He's not the best, but he is very excellent at that. With crit, he's fine, and the main reason he doesn't work in bosses or any enemy that is debuff immune is because all of his damage comes from the injury. Now you might be thinking, yeah, but like synergizing with Despresso, that doesn't really work because Werewolf alone can just do enough injury so that you can run like either Black Pearl or like Snow Sugar with him, which is to just stall the enemies out. Honestly, a pretty underrated tank. Pretty underrated front. And also the fact that he has 3-second start by default, which basically just means, like, it especially helps on World 17 because, let's just say, there is a worm at the front. Werewolf is going to be one of the only cookies who can stop that worm from digging up and potentially just killing your entire team. Very useful Werewolf. I'm proud of you for being good. Madeline, on the other hand, is not good. This is the thing with Madeline. He could go in B tier, actually. He's actually going in B tier. He has, like, the exact same things with Werewolf. He is fine. Like, he deals higher damage, but he doesn't do, like, stuns and things. He is definitely better than Werewolf in single target, though. Although, it's not worth bringing Madeline to the team for bosses. But still, it is pretty much worth it to just bring him as, like, sub DPS or whatever. You can go, like, double tank. Tart, very, very good with Madeline because you can run robes and put them on both Tart and Madeline. And it's also the fact that Madeline has very high attack, so you can run Whistle and Whistle robes and the Whistle will go on Madeline, which is pretty cash money. But yeah, he's going in B tier. With his ability, he's basically invincible, since every third attack he's going to be healing himself, and also every third attack he deals light type damage, which also synergizes with one another cookie that I'm going to see later on. He also works with Cream Puff because Cream Puff, they gave her light type damage for some reason. And yeah, he's going in B tier. He's pretty great as a secondary tank. But without his ability, he's pretty ass. He basically just sits there. Oh, Wizard, best epic in the entire game. I'm kidding. Pumpkin. Pumpkin pie is just bad. Bad. Awful. Terrible, rather. Wait, can I just not... Thank you. Pumpkin pie is just underwhelming at best. She gets completely outclassed by Prune Juice in everything. Apart from, like, debuff immunity, which, like, why would you bring her there in the first place? Pampa just doesn't have enough health to sustain himself. And Pumpkin Pie having insanely low damage and health, probably the lowest in the game, doesn't help either because against like a swarm of melee enemies, Pom-Pom is just gonna die instantly. And against like sharpshooters, Pumpkin Pie is gonna die herself. Because let's just say against carnivorous flowers, they're gonna target Pumpkin Pie first. They're really just gonna target her first so she dies pretty easily. Yeah. And also the fact the healing down doesn't really do anything. It's very insignificant, but you don't really use her for healing down either. Damage sucks. Health sucks. Pom-Pom really doesn't do a whole lot. And with Pincushion, he's just gonna die faster. Well, not die faster, but like stay there longer, but he's still gonna die. Khan, on the other hand, could be honestly just one of the best, like no candy healers in PVE. Unironically, she is going not A tier, S tier. She is so good. On her own, she is fine. She works as a secondary healer, which is pretty great. And even then, you're gonna be like, yeah, but Khan works with summoners and all that. Even without summoners, she does great. Her sheep do a lot better. She doesn't scatter enemies like Licorice does. She also heals the entire team. She's like one of the only cookies that does this. Meat shield, healing, stun. She can sustain herself. She can protect the team very well and provide some of that healing. She didn't even need that attack buff on her sheep though, because her sheep quite really just do not need it. She also works with like other summoners like Prune Juice. Very amazing combo, especially on like World 17. And as like a failsafe, let's just say your Prune Juice dies, and not dies, like his summon dies, you can cast Khan to just save Prune Juice or anything for that matter. Like with a tank, she's fine. With a tank, she really is fine. It's pretty easy to time her stun, so I guess like enemies who get ready for an ability, especially on like World 18, where there are some enemies that do very deadly abilities, Khan can actually just stun them. If you do not have like Seafair or whatever, Khan does fine. Khan really does fine. And I guess the hit shield, she's not bad. She's the sheep. She's basically just gonna be hitting them like 9 times with sheep. 3 from the ram and 3 from the main hits that are gonna be doing after the ram. And also another 3, 6, 9, whatever. Depends on how long they live. Pretty amazing. I'm scared. I'm legitimately scared of Frost Queen. Before her Crystal Gem, she was bad. After her Crystal Gem, she just... any main enemy stage, she just demolishes it. Rams over it like it's nothing. Literally just... if you do not count bosses and debuff immune enemies, everything Frost Queen touches is dead. Even if it doesn't die one shot, it is first of all slowed down by so much. And I mean so much. They can't do anything. The freeze is fine. She works so well with Snow Sugar. Because first she's gonna be doing her ability, and with her like Crystal Gem buff, she buffs herself. And Snow Sugar. It's just actually insane what were they thinking. And also she has multi-hit now. She works against hit shields. Her main weakness is boss damage, but who cares? Who cares if she can just snap all main enemy stages within just 2-3 abilities? You don't even need anything else. All you need is cooldown. And that's it. She also has that Crystal Gem ability every time. She didn't even need to have that. If she had like the exact same gimmick as Sea Fairy, she would be A tier. But without it, she's S tier. Now you might be thinking why Sea Fairy here and Frost Queen is in the same tier. Sea Fairy at least just does such high damage, even without the Crystal Jam, Frost Queen just demolishes everything that isn't a boss or debuff immune. Just craziness, absolute craziness. She can work as the only damage dealer, the only one. She can work. Just don't use her against bosses, please. I don't want to see 50 people on the Discord server using her on bosses. She sucks there. But against main enemies, like, just the fact that she just dominates them so hard is just. Ugh. Incredible. Just incredible. Coco, on the other hand, is not good. She has some uses. She has her uses. Again, just she's one of those tanks that really doesn't do enough. The stun immunity is by far one of the most useless buffs in the game. Like, overall, stun immunity is pretty useless. But even then, if you're desperate for a stun immunity, Cream Puff already has that. Coco just doesn't do a lot. Her main ability just lets her go to the front, which is very bad. The healing is it's bad. And yeah, that's it for Coco. Her only saving grace is stun immunity, but even then it works on like one level. Yeah, she's not worse than Tofu Boy though. She's definitely not as bad as the options we got here. But even then, for a D tier character, she's fine. She's as good as Moon Rabbit. If you're so desperate for one, in the early game she's fine. She can work. And Claire, on the other hand, really fell off. Really fell. He used to be like one of the best cookies in PVE, but now he's fine. He's average. Against debuff immune, the thing is that like they really made later worlds just everything just debuff immune or debuff resistance, which really just makes Eclair fall down so much. And also the fact that like there aren't many like 3 enemy waves anymore, and the fact that sharpshooters are so tanky, Eclair doesn't do enough. The defense is fine, the shield is fine, although they nerfed it. They shadow nerfed it, by the way. Damage is subpar. He only hits like 3 enemies, which sometimes he can work. In some stages he can work, though. He's not bad to have. He's not the worst thing to have. But even then, he's not really the best. Like, compared to Poison Mushroom works on, like, most enemies, but Eclair just really works on only 3 enemies, which is the highest attack enemies, which is not really the best. He's fine, though. He's fine. I still have so much to go through. T-Knight! T-Knight is, yeah, T-Knight, he's not going in D, though. He's still going in C. Pretty ironic how the two guild cookies are going together. How romantic. The reason why I'm putting T-Knight in C and not D is because his single target is great. Unironically, his single target shouldn't be slept on. He's only used on bosses, though, so, well, partially used because he's pretty bad there as well, but if you're desperate for like a tank that deals damage, here you go, T-Knight. His level 10 candy is not really the greatest. Well, it could be great since all it does is give T-Knight true damage, which is not really the greatest thing in the world for PvE, especially since some cookies, especially since like main enemies just don't really have that. He could have gone much higher though if more enemies were actual cookies. Like in World 12, because a lot of the enemies are cookies, T-Knight is really great there because all he has to do is just touch them, and if you kill them, not only does T-Knight heal himself, he also decreases his cooldown by like 5 seconds, which is basically lets him like cycle abilities. But you never really want anyone to die because you want the 3-star, and it's pretty hard to die in PvE. Like, it's pretty hard to like make 2 cookies die in PvE without letting your fronts rot. Now again, he could work with like Vampire and Feather, but even then you wouldn't run Vampire with him either. Yeah, he's situationally good. On the right situations he can work, but just not against like a swarm of enemies. I guess in single target he's fine though. And Dark Cacao. Dark Cacao is just no, oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
This is the thing with Dark Cacao. He's not good. Just like I said in my last video, he's a jack of all trades, but at the end of the day, he's just a jack of nothing. He has so many debuffs that are so low that it just makes him bad. He's definitely a lot better than Twizzly because his only saving grace is the zap. But even then, the defense down, attack down, injury, blah blah blah, beat the ball, blah 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 blah. Just it doesn't do enough. And also the fact that he has like significantly weaker health than all the other fronts, so you can't use him as a main front. You have to use him as a secondary front, but even then, he's very underwhelming for a secondary front. Since you have like Space Donut, who not only stalls the enemies but also gives greater defense down. He's not great for bosses either. He's not great for hit shields. His only saving grace is Zap. If he did not have Zap, he would definitely gone here. Definitely just don't pick him on Might of Ancients at all. He's very bad. Next up is gonna be Yubi's favorite femboy, Alphagato. Alphagato is, he's fine. He's fine. In some situations, he can work. One of his saving graces is merits, is the fact that he can actually just does curse. He can actually curse the enemies, which sometimes, if you do not have Stardust, which is one cookie that I'm gonna get to next, Alphagato is your only savior for those levels, especially on like Master Mode 5-8, where there's one enemy that enrages himself, and you only can do it with Affogato or Stardust. Other than that, again, with poison cookies, he's fine. He's fine. He's fine. Although pretty much overshadowed by World Margarine, which is we're gonna get to next. But even then, he is fine. He has some uses, and he does do a decent job. He does do a decent job. Especially since he's sometimes mandatory on some stages. And also the fact that he removes shield, so that's an extra point for him. Although against like debuff immune enemies, he's trash. And also in hit shields, he's fine since whoever he targets gets like twice the rate of poison ticks, which it helps. It helps. And also the fact that he gives enemies amplified debuff. So there's a very funny combo with Figs, although both terrible, but where you can actually just get like permanent attack down, which is insanely funny. Even then, you can synergize him with Black Pearl or something, and he's fine. Caramel Arrow. I've tried. I really tried to make her usable there. She just isn't great. She just isn't great. Her main ability to just sit at the back, first of all, just screams, I need another front. But even then, you're exposing your other front to so much. All for a cookie that not only doesn't do great damage, she doesn't do great damage, and also her true damage doesn't really work. The true damage is insignificant in PvE unless it's a cookie, but even then, boss damage sucks. If she jumps back to the front, she dies. In her toppings, like if you go full attack, once she charges back, she's dead. Unless you time it, but even then, it's not worth it. And if you're running full elements, well, why are you running her in the first place? She doesn't really do a whole lot. Like, you're essentially just running a purple yam that doesn't heal himself and doesn't buff himself constantly. Just bad. Terrible. With robes, she's not great, and without robes, she's worthless. Yeah. Some. Yeah. Cherry Blossom! Cherry Blossom, another one of Yubi's favorites. And honestly, I love her. She's a waifu. Cherry Blossom is going in there. She's essentially like Poison Mushroom, but she buffs the attack of all cookies on the team. Depends on how many enemies are there. Her damage is pretty underrated too. She could be in the same tier as Latte, but Latte has more utility while Cherry Blossom doesn't have that. She deals some fine damage though. Interestingly enough, she's one of the only cookies that can debuff herself, which is, yeah, not really the greatest, but after all, you already did the damage, so it's not really gonna matter much. She's fine. She's fine. Not the best, not the worst. Also, she's insanely cute. Wildberry! Wildberry, one of the most versatile tanks. He's He's not excellent, he's not one of the best, but overall, it's just never a bad idea to run Wildberry. Not only does he give the entire team 15% damage resist, which is excellent, he deals like double damage against targets with stun immunity, so you can essentially just treat him as a sub DPS because most debuff immune or stun immune enemies cannot move or cannot get knocked back. Without robes, he's fine, and with robes, he's pretty amazing as like single targets. Because he essentially just deals very much damage, so much. The final punch is fine. The level 10 candy is not really the greatest, but even then, it's fine if you want to like increase his defense capability, and also gives his final punch a little more oomph. So yeah, just a very first thought tank. Although he doesn't work alone, but he doesn't work as a solo tank. He can work. He's just very good. Who's next? Clotted. Also, one of V8's favorites. Okay. Clotted is fine. He's not going in C tier, though. He is actually going in B tier. The thing with Clotted is that, like, he deals very great damage against grouped enemies. He's one of the best multi-hitters in the game, since he hits, like, I don't know, fucking 30 times, which is insane. Against single target, he's fine as long as the enemy isn't debuff immune, so that he can get caged by Clotted, which basically just means you stun him for like 2 seconds. The damage from the cage is meaningless. This is true damage, but overall, he works. He really does work. In a lot of the time, he really does shine. Especially on like 1820 where he's essentially mandatory, and on 1618 where he's pretty good there. And even on like 1610, like you're just gonna like delay the mouse's self-healing, which is excellent. Just he's not amazing, but he has the utility that you want from a magic like Clotted. He's pretty great. Definitely a lot better than the damage dealer options we have here in C tier. Hold on. Gonna go get some water. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back after getting some water. Getting dehydrated is the best thing of all time. Anyways, next up we're gonna go with Crunchy Chip. Crunchy Chip he's almost as good as all the other options in C tier. He's not great. But he's not bad. In some situations he can work. It's just the fact that his main attack is slow. You'd rather never want to cast his ability. You can cast his ability mid-wave, which is very nice, but it's never worth using his ability because you're keeping him at the front, which is not really the best thing, and his wolves are not worth risking yourself over. Overall, but he's not bad. Really isn't bad. Yeah, against like 1618, he's fine. Against hate shields, he's very good. As long as that hate shield isn't debuff immune, he can get slowed down by a lot. And Crunchy Chip is kind of like a master at single target because once that target is slowed down, it is pretty much game over. You can cast his ability however you want. But against like Cake Hounds on like 312, if I remember correctly, like Cake Hound stages on Master Mode, it is a very high risk to run him. And it's better to just not run him ever. But, in some situations he can work. Next up we have Oyster. Oyster is not bad. She's also another one of those who are pretty much underrated. She's going in B tier though. Because here's the thing. Oyster is one of those cookies that... She's one of the only ones who can do this. Meat shield and crit buffs. She gives crit rates and crit damage buff, which is very much amazing for a cookie like her. She does such a good job at that. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, yeah, but Doc, it's like insanely hard to build her, blah, 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 blah. But here's my question to you. How insane do you have to be to go 24.23% cooldown on Oyster just to get a 4th soldier? That 4th soldier is generally just never worth bringing over. All you want is 11.3 or 2% cooldown. And that's it. You have 3 soldiers on the field, which is more than enough for Oyster to really work. That fourth soldier is not gonna do much. And her crit buffs are amazing. The mage shields are very tanky as well. It's almost like the exact same thing as Licorice, but just the crit buffs are great. She didn't even need the crit. If she did not have crit buffs, well, she would be going in D. But because of the crit buffs, she goes in B. She goes in B. She is unironically very underrated for a support character. Just amazing. She is as good as like Malissa's in terms of like crit rate usage. Finance here, on the other hand, just bad. Again, nah, she could be D tier. I'm contemplating between D tier and C because she actually has some usage and her buffs are actually pretty great. She's going in C. This is the thing with her. She doesn't do enough for a cookie who shields herself and the cookie with the highest attack, gives herself and the cookie with the highest attack buff and a lot of stuff. Which is pretty great. But she gets outclassed by Bird Cheese. She gets outclassed by him a lot. A lot of the time she gets actually outclassed by him. She's not awful though. She's not awful. Definitely a cookie to have. She's not bad. Against bosses she sucks. And if you want to defend your team, well, you better use Burnt Cheese. And also the fact that like half of her ability gets significantly weaker on later worlds because you're gonna have like less shielding and less healing, which is not really the greatest thing. She's pretty fine though. Cream Unicorn, on the other hand, he would have gone not worse than Tofu Boy, though he's significantly better. His only saving grace is the 15% damage resist, but even then, he's not great. The problem with Cream Unicorn is the way his healing works. If he had like the same rules as in Arena, he would have gone A tier, or even B or even A, because the thing with his healing is that he's not the greatest in PvE. In Arena, he works. He works fine. But in PvE, it's like his healing is significantly nerfed. If your team is at high HP, well, he's going to be healing for nothing. And if your team is at low HP, well, he's not going to save you either. His only saving grace is the 15% damage resist that he gives to you permanently, but, like, yeah, just not really the greatest to have. Really just not. I wish Cream Unicorn was better, though. If he had same rules, though, he would be going in B or even A. Just the way that his healing works in PvE just significantly downgrades him. Poor Unicorn. Captain Caviar, on the other hand, he's pretty decent. I used to never like using him in PvE, but now that I've like found some of his uses, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. On single target, he's great. He's pretty good. If you want to like one-shot the boss, whatever, he deals pretty fun damage on single targets. But only single target, because against group damage, he kinda like gets overwhelmed easily, since he targets like 3 enemies. On main stages, he doesn't do well, because once again, he's only gonna target 3 things. And those 3 things are gonna have defense down. He also gives himself debuff resist, which is something I never knew about. Yeah, that's it. Just really not that great. He's pretty good though. He's pretty good for a single target. Almost, he's worse than Rai, but well, not worse than Rai. They're both equally good. They just both have like different usage things. But other than that, if you don't have any other single target, Caviar can work. Trust me, Caviar can work. Black Pearl, on the other hand, she is very much waifu material. I'm just gonna be putting everything in S tier just because they're waifu material. Shut up. Black Pearl just. She could be worse than Frost Queen. Maybe. But if you do not have Frost Queen, Black Pearl just does the job. Just does an incredible, amazing job. Not only does she have the 2 best debuffs in the entire PvE, attack down and attack speed down is just harsh. She works very well with Sea Fairy because you're gonna be going with Sea Fairy as the rival anyway because the damage resist does not exist in PvE, by the way. Damage resist does nothing. Like, because damage resist enemies do not have that, so her leader buff is pretty worthless. But even then, you can synergize with Sea Fairy, which is already one of the best. And she will just do an incredible job. On bosses, she's not bad. On bosses, she deals pretty great damage. Just such an amazing character. Oh, such waifu material. And even then, with her crystal gem, it's not bad. The water cage helps. It's extra damage against debuff, not against debuff immune enemies. Against debuff immune enemies, she really slacks, but her damage compensates it. But against enemies that aren't debuff immune, she's probably just one of the best debuffers in PvE. Is she as good as Snow Sugar? Not really. Well, she could be as good as Snow Sugar. She could, really could. The attack speed down and the attack down just really shuts down enemies. Oh, I really wish Candy Diver was better. It's just, he's so flawed. He's so flawed. First of all, the fact that his main attack. First of all, it's one of the most unique attacks in the entire game. He doesn't heal and he doesn't damage. He debuffs the enemies. But the problem is that, first of all, it stacks up to 2 times, which is like, why did you even have to do that? And the fact that it only hits one target, which even then, his debuffs are not bad, but it's just everything else about him is underwhelming. First of all, RNG factor sucks in PvE a lot. It sucks a lot. It's not great. It's not good. I really wish he was better though, because he has potential. He really does have potential, but Devs has really just had to drag him to the mud on that one. I just really wish he was better though. Against debuff immune enemies, he's gonna do nothing. And the fact that he's healing his RNG between healing over time and burst healing, and also the fact that his buffs are random, but also every single buff he gives is underwhelming. 15% attack is not really the best, especially for a cookie like that. And Amplify buff is pretty useless. And even if you want to go with his toppings, you don't want to go Amplify buff at all. Even though it is supposed to be good on him, you just run full cooldown. He's very bad. Ah, brutes, brutes, brutes. He's not quite an S. He is pretty close to S. But unironically, if I were to go with a mileage front, Brute would be one of my first picks. He is just so amazing on his own. Not only he did not even need to give the entire team some of the most broken buffs in the game. Attack and like damage resist to the entire team is harsh. He's bad on bosses, sure, but even then, on main stages, he is good. With robes, he can control the enemies so well. He is very good. He's very good. He works as a secondary tank, by the way. If you run with like Fettuccine just almost never dies. Because one, Brute is just gonna stun lock the enemies with robes. Now you need a high level robes, but let's just assume that you have everything maxed. Brute is excellent. Is excellent at that. And even then, without robes, he's fine. You don't need any other topping than damage resist because his main utility is his stun. And even then, his ability to just, first of all, weaken the enemies. Not decrease their damage, but decrease their attack. But decrease their like defense with like that. What is it called again? Barrier breaker or something? It's just so great because one, you can stack it, and it's like actually permanent. But main weakness is debuff immune enemies. But even then, it's like the weakness of so many other cookies in this game. But anyway, if you want to mileage a front and you're very new, mileage brutes. Mileage brute. Or just wait for Fettuccine to be in the shop. But if you don't have Fettuccine, Brute is amazing. Just absolute monster of a unit. We're not gonna be ranking BTS, that's for sure. Macron! Macron, Macron, Macron. Macron is not bad. Macron is actually pretty fucking good. She's going in B tier. Not quite A, but she's going in B tier. The thing with Macron is that I don't know why. It's just the problem with her is that her healing is really underwhelming. But if you want a second healer, go Macron. Go Macron. She synergizes so well with Cream Puff because Cream Puff buffs Macron and Macron buffs Cream Puff by giving her the crits. So almost every single time Cream Puff gets that successful spell. But even then, with some other options, Macron does great. Her cooldown is very short, so you have to run full cooldown on her anyway. She does quite defined damage against enemies. It's like just that tiny chip that you need in order to take down the enemies. But even then, it's like she's not bad. She's a magic as well, which really helps her because magics often have some of the highest attack stat in the game. So her healing does get increased by a lot. And her buffs are pretty great. Her buffs are pretty fucking great. Should I put her in A just because of that? I feel like for healer standards, she could go in A. But, like, she is same level as Pomegranate, but, like, I'd put her in the same tier as Pomegranate, honestly. But seriously, just an amazing sub healer. Macron is pretty great. Next up is Carl. Carl, honestly, pretty underrated. Because here's what people don't notice is that Carl, you can consider her like the replacement of Cream Puff. She is the replacement to Cream Puff. Her healing is mid, but her buffs compensate it. You can't go main healer with Carl. Absolutely not. Too slow for main healer. But even then, the buffs are fine. They're like almost same as Cream Puff. Almost the same. But just Cream Puff has a lot more. Carl is just pretty amazing. She is almost in the same ballpark as Macron, but since Carl is like, you can use her as like, you have to use like two main healers though, two healers. Like you can go Macron and Carl and you're fine. You can go that. It's pretty great. It's pretty good. I'm still contemplating on whether I should put Macron in A though. I'll put her in B. Maybe next tier list I should put her in A. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see if I missed anyone. Alright, we're pretty fucking close. Yay! Ugh, Sherbet, all overrated. Very over. He's going in C tier. He works, but oftentimes he just does not do enough. You know what? Actually, just because, like, I'm thinking about it, but then I'm like, yes, no sugar. You know what? He's actually going in D tier. Fuck this. He is just so bad. Like, if you think about it, he is essentially Snow Sugar, but worse. But if you want to make this argument of like, yeah, 1230, how low does your damage have to be in order to fully rely on Sherbet? You have options like Sorbet, Black Raisin, even like, no. Like Tart can work, Wildberry can work. You have so many single targets that can just outright deny Sherb. Against groups, he's worthless since you have Snow Sugar and you have. And even if you don't have Frost Queen, there's no excuse that you don't have Snow Sugar since, one, he's an epic. And magic candies are not that hard to craft either. Sherbet is not worth getting to the team. His damage sucks. Especially against like debuff immune enemies. He absolutely blows. And I guess crowds just run Snow Sugar. Snow Sugar is better. Snow Sugar deals with crowds significantly better, and he's not any slower. Sherbet is just so much slower. Ugh. And again, like, I don't know. He's not going in C though. He is heavily outclassed. Is he better than some of the options here though? Yeah, maybe. He is definitely better than a lot of the options here. You know, fine, I'll put him in C tier. He is still pretty bad though. He's often never worth bringing him over. Just, just bad. He's not going in B though. By the way, he's not going in. Don't you even dare. Oh, Prophet, on the other hand, he's definitely going in the trash. He's definitely going in the trash bin. Who made him? I want to have a word with whoever made him. This is the thing with Prophet. First of all, he has 7 abilities of just carbon copy cookies. Healing trash. The healing is trash. The buffs are underwhelming at best. And just building him in general is just so stupid because oftentimes you're never going to be using Prophet for anything that isn't Frost Queen's ability. But even then, it's just main Frost Queen ability, which was just trash. And just, ugh. I don't even know what toppings he's supposed to run. Maybe cooldown, but like, even then, you need that like 10.9% crit for him to really shine. You need 10.9, otherwise you're getting random abilities, which is, oh, just, just bad. He was bad in Oven Break, and he's terrible here. Just get out, stupid. Bygone, on the other hand, just die, Prophet, die. Not putting him in the trash tier, though. And not putting him in, like, the die tier. I'm only putting those in the die tier, which I really hate and nobody likes. Bygone, on the other hand, he's pretty fun. He is a pretty fine one. Again, he deals less damage than Madeline, sure, but the thing with him is that he does a great job at controlling the most problematic enemy by just stun locking them. Like, he works as a second front. He really works as a second front. With ropes, he's fine. Although I would recommend just not using ropes on him because you're gonna end up pushing the enemy back, which is not a great idea. But other than that, he's fine. He is pretty good. Underrated, rather. On Master Mode 5, he absolutely slaps. On Master Mode 3, he does a great job. Although not the best, but he does the job well. He does the work. Also, let me my microphone is on. Oh, thank God. My microphone is on. Yes. Ugh. Just. Anyways, on Golem form, he's not bad. Although he does back himself off, which is pretty big liability because you're just. But even then, if you're gonna be running like Fettuccine as the other thing, it shouldn't be that big of a problem. Although if he were to stun all the enemies, he would be an A tier. But the fact that he stuns whoever he targets, it's pretty fine. It's pretty good. Against bosses, he sucks, but even then, it's like bosses just are such a tiny part of PVE. And I guess debuff immune enemies, he's not that great. He's still going in B tier, pretty great. Ah, Moonlight, the 4th legendary and the 4th one to go in S tier. Again, Moonlight. Do I have to explain why Moonlight is just great? First of all, compared to all the other 3 legendaries that require a Crystal Gem, Moonlight doesn't even need a Crystal Gem. So if you're a very new player, you can go Moonlight and you're fine. Moonlight kinda hard carries in PvE. Not only does she defense down, deals great damage, good enough damage so they can run cooldown on her, she also does incredibly well. The sleep is one of the main things, because some enemies can be immune to stun but aren't immune to sleep, which Moonlight guarantees to have a sleep, such as like Doggos on 5-4 Master Mode, by the way, which she and Stardust are the only ones who can stun said enemy. Other than that, she deals great damage. On bosses, she kinda slacks, but that's the one thing with all the other legendaries. They all slack on bosses, Seafray being the best one of them, but even then, there are better options such as like Black Raisin and Sorbets. I value main stages more than anything else, and if you don't have Frost Queen, which she kind of just annihilates everything, Moonlight is just going an S. Moonlight is just absolutely amazing. She's also very waifu material. Milky Way! No. Milky Way, also known as our galaxy, and our galaxy is going in B. Milky Way is not bad. Milky Way is actually pretty good. In some situations, she works. She does defend herself very well. She's essentially just Coco, but a lot better. Because she gives any enemy she hits defense down by 25 times, which is like, I don't even know what the defense down even is. How much? But most important thing, she gives anything she touches very high defense down, so easily killable. And also the fact that she gives your team a shield, which that helps. Not really worth bringing as a single front though, but even then, on double fronts, she does the job well. She gives your DPS enough damage to just crack through enemies. And overall she's just yeah, she's great. She's actually pretty fun. B tier is good enough for her. She also works pretty well with like werewolf or like Sorbet rather. Also against like single targets that cannot get like that aren't debuff immune, she basically can just annihilate that guy. Pretty great cookie. Blueberry pie, on the other hand, she's not going in D though. She's not going in D. She's been definitely going in C. This is the thing with blueberry pie. She is very comp dependent to work. She is very comp dependent. But even then, some of the options that are up there do activate her laser. The way that blueberry pie works is that the more stuns you put on the enemies, the more stacks of greed she gets, which means the more laser she casts, which is basically like 90% of her damage. There are some comps for her, and she does do pretty well on them. She works very well with Moonlight. Works very well with Brute, too. Frostbite, I don't know. Probably not. I've tested her, but maybe it's because a me moment. Maybe because of a me moment. If she would work with Frostbite, she's definitely going up. She's definitely going up. But yeah, just because of the fact that she's so comp dependent, and against bosses she does nothing because you can't get stacks of greed on that one. But even if you could, well, she could be great on bosses. Who knows? Could have been great if you would were to stack stacks of greed. But yeah, just overall, she's almost like the other options we have here. It's pretty great. Space Donut, on the other hand, oh, well. Oh, that's an easy S tier. Are you kidding me? That's an easy S tier. No, it's so long. The Space Donut is just an easy S tier. Not only, probably one of the best fronts in the game. One of the best fronts in PVE. First of all, just Donut Laser, not only does it turn the enemies into donut jelly, so it stuns them, but also, he's great against hit shields. He's great against shields in general, because most of the time he's just going to be turning them into donut jellies, which basically means stall them for your cookies to work. And also, he's pretty great against like most enemies because he gives them defense down, which also means you can kill them faster with your DPS. He also has like that donut blast, which basically means if you hit like the enemies 8 times or something, if you hit 8 enemies with donut blast, he basically just rolls away and stuns them, which he did not even need that. He also has iframes, which is mandatory on Master Mode 5. Although one of his main weakness is his health. But even then, like most of the if you know how to play Space Donuts, he works. He really does work. Not like some stages on Master Mode 5, which I don't even know if I could have beaten them without donuts. He's just that great. And with his toppings, you'd rather just go full cooldown because more and more and more donut beams. Just absolutely incredible. Main weakness is bosses, but who gives a fuck? He's like in the same thing as Frost Queen. Just such an amazing front. Just he also deals significantly more damage if you want to compare it to Brute. He deals way more damage. And he doesn't even need any robes buff, while Brute kinda does. But even then, with robes, he's incredible. Brute is incredible, I mean. Donna doesn't even need robes. He's just that great. Love him. Stardust, on the other hand, he's going somewhere. He's not quite A though. He's going in B. He's not bad. Single target, he sucks. I guess shield is your saving grace. I guess like if you want to curse someone, like if you have Stardust, but Alpha could be is the replacement to Stardust in those cases. But Stardust does the exact same thing as Alpha, but also like deals way more damage. The crit is not mandatory. Doesn't It's not that impactful, but it's nice to have. But even then, you're gonna be running like cream puff or whistle, which basically just means you're gonna have like already 60-70% crit by default with the mentioned landmark, by the way. So he does pretty good. He does pretty good. He's not. Could he be A worthy? Maybe. He's definitely a lot better than the options we have here. He also sleeps the enemies, which is basically like almost every. You know what? He's going in A. He's going in A. He's pretty good. He's pretty good. Synergizes very well with Moonlight as well, and also Blueberry Pie. But even then, you can go like Stardust Moonlight, and you're done with not BTS, DPS damage dealers. Yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. On many stages, he's fine. Or is he though? I feel like because of the fact that he has a very high chance to sleep the enemies, he's going in A. He's pretty good. Capsaicin, on the other hand, is garbage. He's not quite worse than Tofu Boy, but he's definitely going in D. Capsaicin just. This is the one problem with Capsaicin. One, all of his damage comes from burn damage, which is not really the best thing to have. Well, never mind. He's not going in D. He's actually going in C. He actually deals some pretty fine damage with his burn. I guess Bossy he sucks. His main synergy was Malice Sauce, but even then, like, Malice is going higher because one crit buff and stun. Capsaicin has none of those. You're basically just trading those buffs for more burn damage. They also work very well with each other. I actually should test out Malice Sauce and Capsaicin more. I actually should test that a lot more. Maybe he could go up there. Maybe I have really underestimated him. But you know, so far he's going in C tier. Maybe next year he's actually gonna go a lot higher. Definitely not gonna go in A tier though. He's not that good. Yeah, just that's all you can say about him. I guess boss is he sucks because all of his damage comes from burn, which are they're immune to, and he doesn't stun the enemy, so he's kind of like a sub DPS. And his invincibility is kind of useless since it's just a failsafe that doesn't really do a whole lot. But you know, if you screw it up, it can save. It can save you. Let's go in C tier. He's definitely a lot better than the other options in D though. Prune juice, prune juice, prune juice. A prune juicy. He's an interesting cookie to say. He's interesting. By far, if you want to go for the slowest, highest damage dealer in the game, Prune Juice is nothing matches Prune Juice. Prune Juice is just so good as the only damage dealer, and two, because of his poison damage is also great. So he synergizes very well with Royal Margarine. It's just his one weakness is enemies that are debuff immune, which, quite frankly, he really doesn't do a whole lot. He doesn't work in every single team. You're not going to use him in every single team, but other than that, like, could he be S tier though? Could he be S tier though? Against hit shields, he's amazing. And against shields, he's fine. Not really the best. You know, actually, he's actually going in S tier. I feel like he's, again, and if you don't count bosses, which is basically a lot of the things I'm basing this S tier on, he's actually quite up there. He synergizes very well with front. He's also synergizes very well with Snow Sugar because you can run Pincushion with Cotton and Summoner Comp. Pretty great combo. Pretty good trio, trifecta. But yeah, just the goop, very amazing. He's also on World 18. He's one of the only damage dealers who cannot corrupt himself because, fun fact on World 18, the more you damage the enemies, the more chances you have at corrupting yourself. But since Brune Juice doesn't hit directly, he basically just throws bottles that poison the enemies. It's very unique. Very, very unique gimmick. Going in S tier. Like, if we do not count the bosses, never use him on debuff immune bosses, though. Or enemies, rather. But other than that, he's pretty excellent. Pretty excellent at that. Konamon! Basically going in the same ballpark as Madeline. She works insanely well with Madeline, and alone, early on, she works. She really does great. With you don't even need robes. You could need robes. But even then, she works with Madeline. She works with Cream Puff, who has light type damage, so you can heal more with her, which is meh. But even then, again, she did not need her self buffs because, fun fact about Konamon, the more she hits, the more attack speed she gets, which synergizes with herself. And the more she gets hit, the more damage resist she gets to herself. Which, she works. She works. If you want to go like Madeline Konamon, it's definitely not a bad combo to go. But other than that, like, without Madeline, she's decent. Decent at best. But even then, if you're really new to the game, Konamon can actually just carry you. She can. She really can. Royal Margaret, on the other hand, is not that great. His damage is subpar. He's definitely not going in detail. He's going in C. His only saving grace is the fact that he synergizes with Ruin Juice, but even then, you don't need him. The poison damage slacks, and his overall damage is just kind of bad. Again, his saving grace is the fact that he synergizes with some of the best poison cookies, often prune juice. But yeah, just not that great. Not that great. Yeah, I'm trying to think of another use of Royal Margarine. Oh yeah, I guess like debuff immune enemies. He kind of sucks because most of his damage comes from the poison. The nice thing about him is the fact that he poisons all enemies, but like even then, Prune just does that. He's not that great though. But even then, fine cookie to have, I guess. This could be kind of controversial though, but Pattaya's not that great. I feel like Pattaya's actually kind of overrated. Now again, this says a lot considering I have used him for 1830 guide, but overall he's just not that great. The problem with Pattaya is that a lot of people mistreat him as an actual front, which is not how you play Pattaya. You don't use him as a main front, because one, he kills himself and he dies very easily. Very easily. Because another problem is his toppings. If you go full attack, he dies insanely easily. But if you're on full damage resist, well, you're never gonna deal any damage with him, which is why he's so good in the first place. He does great damage though. But even then, he's too finicky and gimmicky to be good. He oftentimes works as a second front. You're never gonna use him as solo front. Because the fact that he has iframes, very long iframes though, it just kind of makes the enemies easier. It makes it easier for the enemies to sneak past him and potentially just kill one of your fronts. Just not really the greatest thing. It's also harder to time it because he does like 2 slashes and then on his Dragon Breath, he gets the invincibility. And even then, like, most of his damage comes from his Dragon form, which takes like 30 seconds at best to even do that. So at most you're gonna see his Dragon form like twice. Which is really not that great. Now you might be wondering, why is he in B but Donut in S? Because Donut, compared to Donut, his iframes are instantaneous. Well, kind of instantaneous. You have to time it, but it's definitely easier to time. And the fact that his iframes don't even last long, they last like a second. But that lasts like 4 seconds. And unlike World 18, it's kind of reliability because for some reason, like, some enemies make your cookies slow down, which with Pattaya is just a death sentence. Yeah, he's not bad. In some stages, he can work. He really can work on the right strats. But overall, he's just kind of too gimmicky to be good. He does deal a lot of damage, though. But oftentimes, he's not that great. Tart, on the other hand, yeah. If you want to go for a damage dealer with mileage, go Tart. Easily Tart. Tart is an easy S tier. Not only does she deal, first of all, more damage against bosses, which she did not even need that. She already deals like a million damage with a single ability. But also, the fact that every single time she shoots, her cooldown gets decreased by 1. So oftentimes she's gonna shoot like thrice, which basically means her cooldown is gonna be 6 seconds. Which, quite frankly, she did not even need that. So not only does she get her abilities very fast, she also deals insanely fat damage. Like fat stacks of damage. Now again, she's not that great on main stages, but even then, she does well. And also the fact that her main attack has the chance to shackle enemies, which quite frankly did not even need that. You can sometimes save you. The shackle can sometimes save you. But even then, against bosses, this is where she really shines. It's against bosses. Taunt against bosses is just unmatched. She's just unmatched. Ugh, just such an incredible damage dealer. Probably the fastest. You don't even need robes with her. With robes, she's a monster. And without it, she's a monster. Just absolute S tier. If you have. And she does not need a lot to build either. All you need is high attack and attack speed subs, and you're fine. Ugh, just such an amazing one. Also synergizes very well with Mango. Eh, not a lot of cookies left. Let's go! Let's go, and here we go to Snapdragon. And Snapdragon is, well, you guessed it. Yeah, he's not going in S tier. Another S tier character. Snapdragon just is basically Carl, but better. As a secondary, you don't use him as a main healer. Too underwhelming to be a main healer. But as a second healer, probably the best second healer in the game. Snapdragon is just way too good. Like, even if they did not have the safeguard, they would still be an S tier. The safeguard is just a cherry on top of the cake because you do not need damage resist on them. So all you have to focus on is cooldown. And even then, their main ability is amazing. Increased attack, a shield, healing over time, and damage resist. It's just all you need. And it can be permanent because they cannot get damaged, so that means they cannot get debuffed. So those buffs are almost permanent. Almost permanent. Such an incredible one. And also debuff resist, which they did not even need that. They can synergize so well with Parfait because you're going to end up having like 80% debuff resist, which is just... Oh, amazing. Anyways, we're close. We're close. We're close. We're close. Friendly reminder that I love Moonlight. Anyways, Rockstar. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, actually, now, get the fuck out of here. You're going in B. Rockstar is going in A. I was like, yeah, but I was like, Carl missing someone. Carl should be going in B. Yeah, the other one is just Rockstar. Rockstar is just Carl, but better. And also, you need 5% crit on him to give the entire team 35% crit. His healing is amazing. The Encore is pretty useless since you don't really want him to die. But even then, like, crit buffs are amazing. The buffs are amazing. He's basically like Parfait, but more offensive. Could he be going in S, though? I feel like for later worlds, like, Snapdragon does significantly better than Rockstar. He does significantly better. But Rockstar is still an incredible healer. If you have mileage, go for Rockstar. If you have the mileage, you can go for Rockstar. Just an incredible one. Shining Glitter is also going in the A tier. Literally a slept-on damage dealer. Not only does she, first of all, deal amazing damage, she deals with hit shields very well because she deals double zap ticks, so every tick deals like twice damage. Like it hits twice. So she destroys hit shields. She destroys shields. She destroys main enemy waves. But her main weakness is boss damage, but even then, like, who cares? And also the fact that she gives the entire team buffs makes their health pink, so that's cute. It is very slay besties. Yes, girl. Yes, girl, slay besties moments. But yeah, just very amazing. Just if you want damage, Shining Glitter is there for you. Shining Glitter is there. Next up is gonna be Blue Black Lemonade. Meh, 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 meh. Just meh. Again, Black Lemonade just doesn't do enough. Senator does very well with Shining Glitter, but even that, as a soul buffer, she does not do enough. The extra damage is not worth it since you have creep buff. Or even then, like Rockstar, who does significantly better. Now you might be thinking, yeah, 2 seconds it could be worth it, but nah. 2 second starts is not worth it. The starting cooldown generally does not matter, except it's like Tiger Lily. But even then, sometimes she can work. She's almost in the same ballpark as Roll Margarine, just low damage but has some purposes. She has utility. Next up is gonna be Peppermint, and honestly, I've been sleeping on Peppermint a lot. They're essentially just Snapdragon, but kind of worse. Yeah, they're the same thing, essentially just the same thing, but he can actually die. But even then, Peppermint is not bad. You can go Peppermint and Snapdragon together if you do not have Parfait Magic Candy. Peppermint is like almost best replacement for Parfait, honestly. He's not bad. He's definitely going in A tier. Very versatile healer. If you want like a healer for like a debuff resist healer for PvE, you just go Peppermint. It's either Peppermint or Rockstar. Like Peppermint and Rockstar are almost the exact same thing. Rockstar best replacement for Cream Puff, and Peppermint best replacement for Parfait. And also the fact that he deals some damage, which is like, yeah, fine, I guess. Crimson Coral. Crimson Coral is actually gonna go an S tier. Actually, an S tier. Crimson Coral is just you're saving grace on like she's just saving grace on stages that have AoE enemies because one, she protects your team by a lot. And the fact that she's the only front, which is it's not even a liability, it actually makes it better because you can run solo Coral and either like 2 healer, 2 DPS, or 3 DPS, 1 healer. She also synergizes so well with Seafaring because she's a water cookie, so she gets more damage. But that's not really the main point. The main point of Coral is the fact that her defensive buffs are so amazing. And yeah, just if you run her a solo tank, it's not that bad. She can fend herself off for a while. No, of course, not as not as long as whoever we're gonna put up with her, but you guessed who we're gonna put. But yeah, Coral, Crimson Coral, probably one of the best fronts in PvE. Probably one of the best. Now again, if you do not have Coral, yeah, you just go for whoever we're gonna get later. Main weakness is like hit shields, but who cares? Like on main stages, she's fine. She protects your team very well. With Parfait, you're basically unstoppable. Yeah, just very versatile tank. Now people wondering why Hollyberry and C, Bakara and Ash. First of all, Hollyberry just dies. Coral at least just doesn't. She charges to the front and that's it. She takes forever to charge to the front. She stops moving, which is great. But also deals more damage. Has Coral buff, which basically just means she can buff herself pretty fucking well. And yeah, just that's it. Has way better defensive buff than Hollyberry. But amazing. Freld on the other hand, oh my. I really wish he was better though. I really wish Freld was better. I really like as much as I love her, I absolutely adore Freld Jellyfish. But I really wish she was better. I've explained this in my other video. She just doesn't work. Shackle is too slow. All the damage coming from Zap is just bad. Only saving grace is Zap, but like even then, you have like some other options for hit shields. Against hit shield, no, I mean against regular shields. Against hit shields, she doesn't hit a lot. The water damage is not worth it since you can just run pomegranate or something, which essentially does the exact same thing. Her death mechanic is meaningless since you're not getting the 3-star, and if you run Feather, you're never gonna get that small jellyfish in the first place. And also, delayed shackle just basically just means like harder timing. Why would you go for her if you have like werewolf for stuns? Or even like Tiger Lily, even, which you don't even need to level up. Frill, do you need to level up to even like do anything? And even then, she doesn't do a whole lot. I really wish she was better. She's worse than Tofu Boy, definitely. I really wish she was better though. Burnt Cheese, on the other hand, is not bad. Burnt Cheese is not bad. He's definitely fine as here, but better. Is he going? Is he going higher than B though? Absolutely not. But if you want a defensive front, Burnt Cheese is good. He's basically fun and here, but better. Also, the fact that he takes like 50% of the damage and also curse immunity really just does make him great on later worlds. Should I put him on A tier just because of that? I feel like for later world purposes and because of the fact that he has curse immunity, I feel like he's going in A tier. He's really great, and also the fact that he stuns the enemies, which is not. He really did not need that. Buffs he gives are amazing. Takes 50% of the damage from the main cookie, so he synergizes so well with Produce. And also synergizes so well with Frost Queen because you can go main healer, 2 front, one of them being Burnt Cheese, and 2 healers. Against bosses he sucks, but on main stages, especially later worlds, he's kind of useful. He's kind of useful. Fatushine. Fatushine. Fettuccine. Literally just I always just make this meme of Fettuccine just being so overrated, but if I want to talk, she's if I want to say it seriously, literally an unstoppable front. Probably the tankiest of all tanks. If you have nothing else, because she's gonna be going into the Milo shop soon. It's gonna be Burnt Cheese and then it's gonna be Fettuccine. Fettuccine is just an unstoppable front. Just imagine a wall that heals himself, has a fail-safe immunity, invincibility when they're on 1 HP, so if you screw up, you can get back up. And also, just gives the entire enemies, all the enemies, permanent stat buffs, stat downs, attack down, defense down, more damage on Earth type damage. So she synergized very well with Burnt Cheese and Mozzarella, who we're gonna get later on. The Earth damage was not even needed, and she did not even need the invincibility either. The fact that, and also her healing herself, she heals herself like hell. Alone, she lives for a very long time. With Parfait, you're almost. Even the strongest of enemies gonna take them like a solid minute to even kill Fettuccine. Just absolutely incredible. Although she does suck against bosses, let me just tell you that. She does suck against bosses because she doesn't she doesn't protect your team. But even then, I guess like main stages, Fettuccine just cannot die. Ugh, it's absolutely amazing. She's probably going to the Milo shop anyway. Probably. I don't know. But she is definitely getting there soon. If you have her, you're in luck. But if you don't have her, well, you have Space Donuts. In the meantime. Oh, what an absolutely incredible tank. Literally, and there are some stages where I'm not even sure if they're doable without Fettuccine. As solo front, she's great. As double front, she is excellent because she protects your second front. So she synergizes so well with Burnt Cheese or Werewolf or any other front that needs to have needs to have some support, and Fettuccine is that support. And she also heals your entire team when you take out the enemies that she marks, but it's like it did not even need that. What an incredible front. Next up is Mozzarella. And honestly, Mozzarella, I feel like she's a lot of people say she's bugged, but honestly, I don't feel it that way. She has the exact same uses as Latte though. She is a melee enemy just shut down. And the fact that everyone just says like, yeah, Mozzarella is bugged because like they know that the bird flies over the enemies, but even then, like it doesn't matter because most of her damage comes from like the point where the bird just flies up. Absolutely incredible. Very short cooldown. And just overall just amazing. She has the exact same uses of Latte though. Synergizes very well with Latte. Synergizes very well with Poo Juice. And also synergizes very well with a lot of the other options like Coral, who like in cases you can run Mozzarella not everywhere, but on the right situations she does work. Really does work. Oh, I'm so tired of talking for 2 hours straight. And next up is Olive. She's definitely not as bad as them, though, but she's definitely going up there. Not here, there. The problem with Olive is one random ability, which is just. Ugh. Her only saving grace is Zap, which is not really the greatest, but also the fact that she increases elemental damage by like 45%, which means she synergizes so well with like Sea Fairy or a lot of the cookies rather that have elemental buffs. She's not the worst, but she's definitely not worth bringing to the team nor leveling up because if you want her to be good, you're never going to be using her as the main DPS anyway. You want the other options. But even then, half of the time she's worthless, and most of the time you're really just going to have better options. Ugh, I'm so tired of talking for 2 hours straight. And here we go on to the last cookie. I hope I haven't missed anyone. Hold on, I'm checking. Last one is Icicle Yeti. I'm gonna be. He's very comp dependent. Icicle Yeti is good, but the thing with him is that he is very comp dependent. He's definitely a lot better than all the other options. It's just the problem with him is that he heavily relies on frost cookies to be good, which most of the time you're going to be running frost queen and snow sugar. But even then, it's not worth running him as main fronts because sure he takes like near infinite damage and he won't die, but you kind of want that second front like Fettuccine to really just make sure that no enemy is going to get past your front. But other than that, he's pretty great. But very comp-dependent. Very comp-dependent. Could be later on he could be going lower though, but I don't think there's anything that can be better than Frost Queen. Oh, just very, very great. Just again, a safeguarded tank that just cannot die. Again, in some situations he works. Against bosses he sucks, but even then, you're not going to be using him for damage since he is by far the lowest damage dealer in the entire game. Like, it's so much lower. But anyways, I'm pretty sure that's it. This has been the tier list for PVE. I'm not putting in BTS, but even then, should I put them still? Fine, only putting one of them. It's the only one I have maxed. Fine, I'll go ahead and explain. They're not bad. But they are very underwhelming. Where are they going, though? I haven't really been thinking about BTS. Like, if you have them, you could use them. Again, they're not excellent, but definitely a lot better than the options we have here. Fine, they're going in B. Definitely they're essentially just Snapdragon but worse. That's it. They're going in B. I'm not gonna bother explaining any further because they're just Snapdragon. But again, can't worse. Hold on, I'm gonna get some more water. Back with some water. And there you have it. The definitive, my opinion, experience thing PvE tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This has been very rough. Recorded this the first time, but my microphone was off, so I lost 2 hours of footage. But, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling on some stuff. This video is definitely more empty than anything else, and it's definitely gonna be my longest video by a landslide. But it was fun making. It was pretty fun. I loved filming this. I loved explaining. Although some options may be less explained than the others. But definitely, the next tier list is gonna have more options. This has been the PvE tier list for Cookie Run Kingdom, Story Mode, Dark Mode, Master Mode, nothing else. And tiers, nobody's better than the other. So such as like Mango's not better than Cream Puff because if you want to compare a DPS to a healer, you're stupid. And one of the main rules. I'm just gonna be repeating these again because I just want to make sure. Crystal Gem and Magic Candy limit 10. And that's it. We're not counting Sonic and Tails. We counted BTS just for the sake of it. But other than that, no commons or rares voted off or rated. All of the cookies here, and that's basically it. And there's also the tier list for Dark Noob. Anyways, once again, this was all my opinion from experience because, quite frankly, just been tired of people wanting a tier list for PvE and no, Hyrule's tier lists are not any better because yeah, you can clearly tell that he hasn't been trying in PvE. Compared to me, with a lot of the other options that I've been testing them thoroughly. And he could have some decent tier lists. I don't know. I haven't watched them, but last time I saw it was awful. And again, my advice for the day: never follow arena tier lists since arena is not really a mode you want to have tier lists on. Again, you're not gonna go into like the S tier options and put them all in one team and expect it to work. That's not how it works. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. This has been Doc here. Shout out to a lot of the members on the Discord server, preferably Kiplup, Dan, Yubi, Dreekt, and so many other options. And I don't know, man. Don't know one. Sorry. A lot of the members on the Discord really just helped me with this tier list. A lot of the people really just gave me options, and also Scorchville, another one. All of them on the Cookie Run Kingdom Discord. Just check them out. They're really cool. They might be a bit harsh on helping, but that's what the help channel is for. Be harsh, but yet again. So it's been the entire tier list. It's been really fun making it. I am super exhausted. It's 3 p.m. Gonna have to go eat, do something else. I'm gonna post this video. Probably just gonna take like 20 years to post, but this has been Doc here, and I hope you enjoyed. See ya.